Welcome, everyone, to the Flower Files podcast sponsored by Wildly Native Flower Farm. Here, everyone is welcome to talk with fellow flower lovers, including real perspectives from the farm, the flowers, and me, the florist.
From the messy day-to-day operations down to the details and even business perspectives, this podcast has a little bit of everything to keep it real. We know that life can get crazy and we don't always have the time to spend on what we love, so we are here to help you take a little time to indulge in nature. I'm Liza Getz.
I'm Lizzie Frey, and we are the team that makes this podcast. Every once in a while, we have a couple guests, this business thing, and what we are working with is called life.
Join us as we walk you through how to think outside the box, talk from the farmer's perspective, have honest conversations about florals, and how to run, well, life. So listen in.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, in the podcast section, and any of your other podcast platforms. You can also find us online at wildlynativeflowerfarm.com, and in an easy way, you can look in the show notes, and all of the information will be right there for easy access for you guys.
All right, guys. Well, welcome back to the Flower Files, the podcast where we explore the beauty, the business, and the life lessons that come with flowers, farming, and everything in between. I'm your host today, Liza, and we're branching out into a crop that's not only beautiful, but it's also powerful, and that's elderberries. My guest today is Russell Carter, an elderberry farmer who's making waves in the world of small farming and natural health. Talk about putting two things together that are amazing. Elderberries have been prized literally for centuries for their immune boosting benefits. And I think it's so fitting that most of you can probably tell I'm a little congested. And Russell has turned his passion for farming into a thriving operation that not only connects tradition and wellness, but sustainability. So welcome, Russell, to the Flower Files.
Liza, good morning. It's great to be here. Appreciate you having us on.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I would love to start off, honestly, hearing a little bit about you. Russell, I feel like elderberries are such a niche market within farming. How did you get started in that side of farming, and what led you to elderberries in particular?
Yeah, for sure. So it was kind of a unique journey. We actually also own a honeybee, a commercial honeybee operation. So we run about 450 beehives, and we've been doing that for about we've been doing that for about 10 years.
Wow.
So that was the first thing that we had, and we, as a family, we have always been consumers of elderberry, elderberry juice, elderberry syrups. And for the most part, we were just foraging for them just out in the country when it was in season, or we would be buying elderberry syrup, just whatever was commercially available. And when we made it ourselves, we noticed there was just an absolute difference in the level of quality when you can take a fresh berry and turn that into an elderberry product versus what you're buying in the store. So it's kind of a pain necessarily to go out and find these plantings if you're just kind of free foraging for them. So we just began a small planting. We only planted about 15 plants our first year.
I feel like that's how all stories start. I just started with a couple, and then the next year I added just a couple more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get that.
So we started with just out of pure necessity, just because we didn't want to keep foraging for them. We just wanted to have we have a little bit of land here, so we're like, you know what, we'll just set aside a little bit of land and just plant elderberries, and we'll just use that for family and friends use, right? So when we did that, the elderberry syrup that we were creating just for ourselves and our family and friends was so significantly better in terms of just quality that it really got the wheels turning for us. And what kind of talk about why it's better
Mm-hmm.
in a second. Just, I don't want to derail the conversation there, but it was just a fresher product basically, and we already had the honey coming in from our honeybee operation, so we were taking the elderberry juice that we were producing, mixing it with the honey, and making an elderberry syrup. So the demand for that quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like most businesses,
Mm-hmm.
the demand created a need. So we realized, well, that's not going to be enough. So the second year, we ended up planting about 3,000 elderberry
Holy
plants,
cow! Holy
and now
cow!
and that was about 6 years ago. And every year we plant between 2,000 and 5,000 plants just to kind of keep up with the demand.
Okay, so for people who aren't familiar with the elderberry plant, tell me about the
Sure.
plant itself. Are we talking like a little shrub? Are we
Yep.
talking like let's talk
Yeah.
about the culture of that just a little bit so people
Yeah.
can understand.
Yeah. You got it. So, yeah, there are two really distinct elderberry varieties. There's a European elderberry and there's an American elderberry. The European variety, which obviously grows over in Europe, is more of a tree.
Mm-hmm.
It has a central trunk, and it's really a short shrubby
Mm-hmm.
tree. In the United States, our American elderberry variety that we grow here, it's more of a primocane system.
Mm-hmm.
So it is it's like a blackberry or something, a raspberry or something like that. That's kind of how they look when they're growing. They send up new shoots every year, and then you trim back the old canes after a year or two, and so the plant is always reviving itself every spring by sending up new shoots.
Is there a difference in flavor profile between the two varieties, the European versus the American?
You know what? That's a great question. I don't know, and the reason I don't know is because it's impossible to get a fresh European elderberry,
Mm.
right? If you were going to get a European variety, it is going to be dehydrated
Wow.
and shipped over here. So you would have to reconstitute it with water.
Okay.
And then obviously with the American varieties, we don't dehydrate them. When we harvest the berry in the morning, it is pressed into juice that afternoon, and then that fresh juice is then frozen by the end of the day.
So okay, so you go through, you have planted oodles and oodles
Yes.
of these plants.
Yes. Yes.
So if you're in a primocane system, you probably have new shoots that are putting out your growth and all of those things. How are they harvested? What is that process? You harvest, and then
Yeah.
if you're pressing that quickly, how are they pressed? What is the
Yeah. Yeah. So they're harvested manually.
Mm.
So it is a very chaotic 6 weeks. So we have several varieties that do come ripening at we kind of stagger them a little bit, but so it is 100% manual. So it is all hands on deck when they're ready to ripe. If you don't, you're also competing with birds. So the birds love elderberries.
Wow.
So there's kind of a running joke like, oh, how do you get the birds from eating your elderberries? It's like, well, you just keep planting more. So
is there one bird in particular that is very like it's just everybody?
It's everything.
Wow.
Yeah, there really isn't. There's the birds. Yeah, when you're walking through the elderberry rows, there's birds all over the place trying to get to the berries. So, which is great. We don't mind sharing a little bit with them, but
yeah.
So yeah, it's a very manual process. Mm-hmm. So we go out first thing in the morning, the crew and I, and we pick the elderberries. They come in clusters. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a unique cluster. I wouldn't call it like a grape cluster, but it's something similar, I think, to like a grape cluster is the best way I could describe it. And you just snip that off, and we put them in our carry bags, and then we collect them. We run them through a de-stemming machine.
Mm-hmm. Does it
so they have, it's a shaker table, and it also has a rotating drum that then de-stems them. So then from there, they just go into holding containers, and then they go into a very large bladder press, and then they get juiced, and then we discard the pumice, and then we just take the juice and freeze it.
What do you do with the pumice that's left? When I was in college, we used to do cider, and oh my gosh, it was so cool, so cool. excuse me. But then afterwards, you would have that the what's left over, and we actually
Yeah.
would put it in a spreader and then just spread it back into the field. Is that
Yeah.
do you just
That's good.
compost kind of? Yeah.
That's exactly what we do. We just compost it. Yeah, we have very large composting piles here for many reasons, but we just compost it back. So
That makes sense. That makes a lot of
yeah,
sense. I feel
yeah.
like when people think of elderberries, and for listeners who might only know them as that magic syrup that you take in the winter, can you talk a little bit about the crop and what really makes it so unique and so special?
Hey there, flower friends. We need to talk about something sweet.
Petal Pantry is our new line of floral salts and sugars made from flowers we grow right here at Wildly Native Flower Farm. Think of a pinch of floral sugar on your morning muffin, a sprinkle of floral sugar on your cookies, or a blossom-infused salt to make every weeknight dinner extra fancy.
Best part, it's all natural and made with real farm-grown blossoms.
Treat your taste buds and get 10% off your first order today at wildlynativeflowerfarm.com with the code FLOWERFILES.
Now, let's get back to the show.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so elderberry in itself is something that has been around for centuries. It is kind of one of those tribal plants that people used to. It's kind of lost some of that in the last couple decades where it's not talked about as much. However, it is going through a total resurgence because in the last probably 10 years or so, elderberry has made I would call it a roaring comeback, really. But my when I told my parents I was going to start growing elderberries here on the farm, my mom's like, "Really? There's a market for that? Like we just pick it, And it's like it's unheard of, really. There are so few commercially sized farms that are growing elderberry. So, but the plant itself is so unique in its contents and what it does for us. Elderberry or blueberries, for example.
My favorite
There was
fruit.
a strong blueberries are delicious, absolutely, and wild blueberries. If you ever picked wild blueberries, even better. But so there was a strong push from the blueberry growers of America to really tout the benefits of blueberries and how rich in antioxidants they are and the flavonoids and all this good stuff for us. And if you look at, and that makes total sense, right? If you're selling a product, you want to talk about what its benefits are. Elderberry has 3 times the level of a wild blueberry. So the level of antioxidants in an elderberry is through the roof. That is one major benefit. And antioxidants are so important just to take on a daily basis because they help remove free radicals from your body and really help protect your body from a variety of illnesses. So that's why antioxidants are so important for us. But in addition to that, there is so much research now that people kind of always known, but they really needed some more hard and fast studies done that show taking elderberry during the cold and flu season does protect your body. It protects there's compounds in elderberry that actually help protect your cells from becoming infected with a cold and flu virus. So it allows your own immune system, which is already running at max capacity here when you're taking elderberry, to then fight off whatever you may come in contact with. So that is why. And that research has really been done in the last 5 years from multiple universities and medical journals. That is why when you walk down a CVS aisle, any CVS or Walgreens, walk down the cold and flu aisle, elderberry is in everything.
Your face. It is in.
It is.
And Airborne even has its own gummy of elderberry.
Yes.
So I watched my son's in college and he said, "Mom, everybody is sick at school. You guys are sick. I don't want this. So he
Yes.
went to Walgreens and he got Airborne, the regular, and he came in with elderberries. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh.
That's interesting timing. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tread lightly on this, but I think there are some scrupulous corporations that are using the elderberry term and the elderberry image, and putting it on their marketing package to kind of lure in
Right.
potential customers. The potency probably is not there.
No, you want
So,
a syrup. You don't want a gummy. You want
yeah,
you
yeah.
want the real thing.
Exactly. So I'll give you you brought up gummies. So I'll give you a great example. So there is a competitor out there. It's not Airborne, but there's many gummies out there, right? One of them that we just saw come through. We actually bought it just because we're interested in kind of seeing what's in the market. It had the first ingredient was corn syrup, then cane sugar. I mean, it's just loaded with sugars and preservatives. And then you finally get down the list of ingredients, and it's, a proprietary elderberry blend is way down the list. And then when you look at how much elderberry is in one gummy, which is a serving, it's 300 milligrams of elderberry. Contrast that to our elderberry syrup has 9,500 milligrams of elderberry per serving. So in terms of potency, gummies, they taste delicious. They're basically a candy.
They are.
I mean, that's the equivalent. It's basically candy.
It's candy that makes you feel good. Well, I can eat that.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So, not trying to steer anyone away from the gummy world, but there are definitely more potent ways to consume elderberry.
Well, you're also not in the health food store getting a true how do I put that again? How do I tread lightly? But you go to Walgreens, you kind of know what you're getting compared to if you go to a health food store where you're looking at purity levels, and you can stand back and look at all of the different varieties of just different items in general that you can look at potency, you can look at purity. I mean, all of those
no
things.
doubt about it.
How did you figure out when you're making your syrups? Okay, so you've planted 3,000 plants. And
that was year one.
Oh my gosh. What do you plant a year now?
Between 2,000 and 5,000 plants.
Wow.
Every year. So we continue. That was 6 years ago. So we are continually. We just tilled up and are prepping a 3-acre plot, an additional 3 acres right now for next that will be planted in February.
That's
so
amazing.
Yeah, so it's a growing operation for sure.
So if you've planted the berries, you've grown the berries, you probably talked to your berries, and you then harvest them, and you have this raw syrup.
Yeah.
Can you take me through, not sharing proprietary blends?
Sure.
But how do you figure out concentration? How do you figure it out so that it's still palatable? How did you R&D all of those pieces? And how did you get through, and I'm hitting you with 30 questions, I'm sorry.
That's
how did you get through all of the food and drug and all of the food requirements? And then one of the other things is all of the health claims, because I feel like that's another whole conundrum.
Yes.
So I just hit you with 30 questions. I'm going to let you tackle that how you want, but oh my gosh.
Sure. Yeah. So
start with concentration. How do you figure out your concentration?
So that is a great question. I'm really glad you brought that up, because I will call it a dirty little secret of the elderberry syrup world that nobody really understands. And this is also one of the main reasons why we started growing our own. So like I said at the beginning of the podcast, we were either foraging for ourselves to go out and pick, like so many Americans do, so many people around the world do, or you're buying what's commercially available. Okay. So because no one is growing elderberries in this country, it is such a niche market to get into. And I would highly encourage anyone interested to research it, because it's a great market. But so how do you make an elderberry syrup? And there are dozens and dozens and dozens of brands out there,
Right.
from Sambucol to Mary Ruth's to Airborne to just, I mean, there's dozens of them.
Right.
So how are they making elderberry products when no one is growing elderberry in the United States? Right? The answer is they are buying the European elderberry that is dried in 50-pound bags, and then they're being shipped across the country, shipped across the ocean, and then they are reconstituting those dried berries. So there's a couple problems with that.
I was going to say the concentrations in itself with that. You
got it. Yeah. So a couple problems. One, when you dehydrate the berry, you are immediately losing about 20% of the nutritional value of that berry. 20%. So it is really, really powerful. Yeah, it's huge. So you're heating the berry, you're losing nutritional value. Okay, so that's problem number one. Problem number two is, who knows what the reconstitution rate is, right? There's no governing body, there's nothing that says this is how much water you need to add back into the product to get the equivalent of the fresh juice that you could get if you just pressed it. So because of that, so many products on the market are just diluted beyond, like, you wouldn't believe. They're just a watery product, and it's partly due, I'll give people the benefit of the doubt. I just think they're just adding too much water, and they're not doing it to stretch profit maybe, but it's just not the same ratio that it should.
Right.
So that's kind of it. So when we took that and we're like, man, this is, all these products are kind of watery. It was so much better when we were making it from foraged berries, right? And the quality, the taste, everything is so night and day. So when we started growing our elderberries and producing our elderberry syrup, I think that's why it took off the way that it did. It's because we get comments like this all the time. I've never had elderberry syrup like this. How is this possible? How does it taste this good?
Right.
Our elderberry syrup only has 5 ingredients. It could not be easier. It is elderberry juice, raw honey from our own beekeeping operation, freshly juiced ginger.
Oh, wow.
Ceylon cinnamon, and star anise. So those are the only 5 ingredients that we put in our elderberry syrup, and it just creates a really, really great flavoring syrup, or a good flavored syrup. So,
and it makes it smooth. I think that's one of the things that I've enjoyed is your syrups are smooth.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't have a bite to it. I don't know how to explain it.
Yes. Yep. It's, oh my gosh. Kids love it. I mean, our son and daughter will come up to us and be like, hey, can I have my elderberry syrup today? And that is like, we hear that all the time, that kids are just like, oh, this is so easy for the kids to take. It's so good. So those are the 5 ingredients in our syrups. If you look at competitors, and I'm not knocking the competitors, but the first ingredient in 95% of all other competing products on the market, the first ingredient is purified water. And it's like, if it has water in it, you already know that it came from a dehydrated berry. And I can't imagine anybody is making it with elderberry juice and then adding water in addition to that. If that's the case, then they really are trying to be deceitful. But if it has added water, it's because it's a dehydrated berry, and it's being imported from Poland and Ukraine and just European countries. So that is up. So then the other things are, so many of these older products out there have raw sugars and preservatives and malic acids and citric acids and everything else to really extend the shelf life and keep it on the shelf for months and months and months at a time. So I would probably venture to say that it does still have benefit, but there are definitely levels of quality in the elderberry market. So if your listeners on the podcast are elderberry syrup consumers, if they're interested in it, I would strongly encourage them to just look at the back of their own
Yeah,
label,
flip that
right?
label
Don't
around.
just
Yeah.
flip the label around and just read the ingredients on the label, and then compare it to a product like ours or somebody else that's making it with fresh juice, and then make the decision for themselves as to what product they would like to go with.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, do you find that the regulations here, because of, food and drug and all of those things,
Yes.
how
Oh,
did
yes.
you how did you navigate that? Because I feel like
Yep.
there's so many, and we have a salt and sugar line, a floral salt and sugar.
Yes.
Garnish and fun and just a little different. If you want to put sprinkles on something, there's no dyes, it's just flowers, like that kind of
Yep.
perspective. But that process took us literally years to be able to get approved. And we had no health benefits that we were talking about.
Got
How talk to me about the conundrum
it.
of how you manage that quagmire. I
Yeah. So 100%. And when you start to get into supplements and things like that, it opens up a whole nother world of legalities of what you can say, what you can't say. It's not you know, and rightfully so. You can't just claim this magic elixir does all of these things without it. And I tell everyone this because we get this question a lot. Whether we're selling it to a new wholesale account and they want to talk about it, or we have customers that come to the farm to buy it, or whatever. We get the question a lot: is what is elderberry syrup gonna do for me, right?
Interesting.
So, like, what does it do? Like, why does it help you? Things like that. And I say, listen, I'm gonna tell you the studies that I've read and the results that from those studies, just what I've read. But I'm a farmer, right? I grow elderberries, and I produce in my family, and I produce this elderberry syrup product. We have not done our own studies, right? So it's like we're not out there, we're not academias of the world trying to do that. We're just a farmer. So from what I've read, but you can't just tout that this is some magic syrup that's going to heal all things and whatever. So it really, we can say what it has been proven to do. So it does boost your immune system.
Hmm.
So that is one thing that we are allowed to say on the bottle, that it does boost immune systems. Um, there are every ingredient in the syrup has its own benefits,
Hmm.
from ginger to digestive issues and just things like that. So those are the things that we can say because those are really kind of proven,
Hmm.
right?
And accepted.
But and 100% accepted. Yeah, it's not even a question. It's not, somebody told me this does this.
Right.
These are long standing understandings that this is what this does. So um, we do have to write on the bottle that this has not been tested by the FDA or certified by the FDA as blah blah blah.
Right.
So there are statements like that we were required to put on the bottle and things like that. So it is, and then as far as just manufacturing, as long we're in a certified food kitchen
Hmm.
that we're manufacturing, and we get it regularly inspected.
Hmm.
So it's that in and of itself, that's not that difficult. You're making a food product essentially.
Right.
So as long as you're passing all your inspections and everything else, that part's easy. The labeling requirement was probably a little bit more stringent to us than actually the manufacturing side of it.
Wow. 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 Wow.
So
I feel like when we first started, I had no concept of everything that would have to go into it with food. I had no idea all of the layers. There's
yeah,
so many different departments that are interwoven, that is just, I don't know, it's kind of fascinating. Kind of fascinating
yeah,
to me, the whole process. So,
yes.
when you first started and you were first selling your syrups and you were first, breaking ground with all of this,
Hmm.
how did you do your marketing?
Well, so
Like, were you
I
like, "Hey, we're gonna, take some things to farmers market," or
yeah,
how did you scale?
yeah,
Because you clearly have
yeah,
scaled successfully.
yes, yeah. Well, in a past life, I actually ran marketing for a larger company. So my entire career before turning to 100% farmer, and leaving corporate America behind. That's what I did for a living, was actually marketing and product development and marketing new products. So I did actually kind of come from that background. But I will say this: marketing is so easy if you have a great product. So it's like you are not going to be able to successfully introduce and grow a brand if your product is not good. And there are so many companies out there that don't, shockingly, that don't understand that. They think that just by pumping so much money, and some of these larger companies, they have that ability, right? They're backed by private equity companies. Even in the pharmaceutical supplement world, there are some big names out there that just pump money into marketing, and their product is just not good.
Right.
And they're kind of relying on just acquiring new customers over and over and over again. Not even really caring necessarily about repeat customers.
Right.
So if you start with an amazing product, that the rest of it becomes so easy. It is almost becomes just word of mouth to start, right?
Yeah.
When you're just getting started. And yeah, absolutely. So when like I said, we were running our beekeeping business before we even got our first plant in the ground for several years before that. So we were really already tied into the local community for the honey aspect of it. And we did go to farmers markets, and we wholesale locally to some to stores. And when we came out with our elderberry syrup, it was immediate. It was like, holy cow, like, where has this been? Like, and then it was an educational thing. It's like, well, look, what is your current elderberry ingredient show? Like, this is what we have. Look at the consistency, look at the color, look at all these things, because when you're using a dehydrated berry, like I said, you're adding water, the color is dull, like it's not a vibrant purple like it should be from the juice. So there's a lot of different things, and that actually is pretty important, but from a nutritional standpoint. But so it really just spread like wildfire locally, right? In our first year, we sold out of our berries. Like, we were like, we can't even keep up. We had thousands of plants in the ground, and we could not produce enough just to satisfy our local demand with our stores and our farmers markets. And that's why we're just continually planting more, because we just are trying to keep up with the demand and stay in stock all season. But apart from that, we sell on a couple different channels, right? So once you understand you have a product that's a really truly premium product, that people want it, then the next thing is getting your product into the hands of customers. People aren't going to buy what they can't find,
or don't know about.
Exactly. If they don't know about it, they're not going to buy it. So we sell on Amazon. We're currently selling on Walmart. We sell on our own website. And we're increasing our wholesale presence across the country. So we're really trying to do a pretty strong push to just get our product in front of as many potential customers as I can, just as we grow and as we scale.
So people listening to this, if they're saying, you know what, I think I want to try to grow some of these myself. I want a couple berries in the backyard kind of thing. What's advice that you would share with them?
Do it. 100% do it. So we are an open book about helping people get started. And even, like, for example, at farmers markets, when we were going to the farmers markets, we heard that a lot as well. Like, oh, I would like to try to grow some elderberries in our backyard. We were so open about best practices and how to do it. And there is a strong movement, I would say, for those that want to do this. And it's not hard at all. The elderberry plant is a very, very easy plant to grow. And once it gets established, it will provide you 10 years, on average, 10 years of productive berries every year, before you may have to dig it up and restart it. But there is a couple of really, really key things you have to do to have a successful establishment of a plant. One, you have to have a cross pollinator.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is not a self-fertile plant. It does need to have a cross pollinator with it. So you're going to need to pick up two separate varieties that are cross pollinators for each other. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the way that you start an elderberry plant almost entirely across the board is through what's called a cutting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it is not a seed that you're going to plant in the ground. I don't know anyone that's even attempted that. It doesn't make sense to do it. You take cuttings in our area when it's still winter. It'd be February,
Right.
so there's snow on the ground, and we're out taking cuttings. So the plant is dormant. The plant is dormant, and we're taking these cuttings, and from so there's no root structure.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the primocane cutting. So
Wow.
you have to develop the root structure before it leafs out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I think that is the key right there. If you start to get leaves before you get roots, the plant is going to die.
Right.
There's nothing you're going to be able to
It
do to
can't
keep that
support
plant
itself.
alive.
Yeah.
It cannot support itself. So planting it while it's dormant and letting the root system develop, and then as the temperatures warm, then it will leaf out, and now it has the root structure to support itself. So the easiest thing to do really is in whatever climate you're in, it has to be while the plant is dormant still in a cold season. That's why we plant in February or early March. We just take the cutting and we just shove it straight into the ground.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's it. And where we are, there's something called the mud season where it is just cold and it's just
Wet.
muddy.
Yeah.
It's wet and muddy. And that is the perfect environment for a cutting. The ground is cold, the air is cold, but there's so much moisture in the ground. And that is what the cutting needs for it to develop the root system. So planting it at the right time. If you get a cutting a little bit later in the year, you can start it in a pot. But the key with pot planting is you have got to water that thing on a daily basis. You almost can't overwater an elderberry cutting. Okay, so a lot of folks should be like, oh, it died or whatever. It's like if your ground while it's developing the root system isn't almost soggy, it's not wet enough, right? And that's actually why if you go forage for elderberries, most of the time you're going to find them in
Like
creek
boggy,
beds and river beds and boggy areas. It's because they just love that moisture.
Yep.
So that would be the advice. It's not hard to do, but just really, really watch. They have to stay wet while you're developing that root system.
Okay, so I've grown the elderberries. I'm making my own syrup.
Yep.
If I want to incorporate elderberry into my diet,
Sure.
how do you recommend doing that? Is it a daily? Is it a when you feel kind of funky? Is it a talk to me about use?
Yes, there is definitely two paths folks will go down. There are those that will only take elderberry syrup and elderberry juice during the cold and flu season, right? They just want that extra immune boost. They just want that extra protection against getting cold and flu. Senior citizens, that is like for them, it's like, I really don't want to get sick this year, but maybe I don't want to take the flu shot every year, or I don't want to take these vaccines all the time, right? So they're looking for alternative ways to stay healthy. So taking and it's senior citizens, but also the kids that are in school, like parents with kids in school, they just want to stay healthy. So that there's definitely that group of folks that just take it during the cold and flu season. Our family takes elderberry syrup every single day. And the reason we do that is because of the antioxidant level we talked about. We want to continually get our bodies full of antioxidants, and elderberry is a great vessel for that. Not only is it delicious, but it's so easy to take. It just provides so many antioxidants for us to just kind of stay healthy. So it is definitely something you can take year round. But also taking it during the cold and flu season just to kind of keep healthy is very common as well.
Awesome.
And as far as ways you can take it, there is just a plethora of ways that you can incorporate elderberry into your daily diet. So you can make, if you have the elderberry available, if you're growing your own plant, you can make everything from elderberry jams to jellies. You can make just cold pressed elderberry juice and incorporate that into smoothies, or anything that you want to incorporate it into. But there's fire ciders and kombuchas and like all these different things that people are using elderberry juice for, or turn it into elderberry syrup and just make your own syrups.
Correct me if I'm wrong. And I think somewhere I remember hearing that elderberries you don't eat raw, correct?
So that is, I will tell you this. I think the jury is out on that.
Okay.
And let me expand on that. So the European varieties, the tree variety, which accounts for, like, I would say it's probably 99% of everything that gets consumed in the United States is probably a European variety, right?
Gotcha.
Because farming it in America is so niche still. So that the European varieties, the seeds do contain a toxin. Okay.
Gotcha.
It's the same thing that you would find in like an apple seed or a cherry seed or something like that. So they do contain that. Whether I've actually never heard of anybody dying or anything like that from eating raw berries. I will tell you, we eat raw elderberries all the time. Okay. So we all do. My workers, we do. My family. I mean, we will just go. We'll just go stand out there while we're picking them, and we'll just be kind of eating them as we go a little bit. So the American varieties have a lesser degree of that toxin in the seeds. So again, I'm gonna default to this. I am the farmer.
Yep.
Okay.
I get that.
So I don't condone or recommend anything.
Yep.
So it is still recommended that before you eat it, that they do have to be heated to some degree, to basically counter that whatever's in that seeds. I forget. The term is escaping me at this moment, but so they do recommend cooking the elderberries to some degree, just warming them up. So that's what I would suggest. But I'm still standing, and I have eaten pounds and pounds of elderberries in my life.
I love it. Russell, thank you so much for taking time today to just share your incredible wisdom and to talk about a market that I feel like it's a mystery. I feel like it's you clearly have a passion for it, and you're really showing that farming can be about beauty, about health, and about community all at the same time.
For sure.
For sure. If our listeners wanted to find some of your products, what is the best way for them to reach out and to either learn more or to use some of your products?
Yeah, we sell into several platforms, like I mentioned earlier. I would probably say the best way is just to go to our website. That is probably the most educational site that we have, above Amazon, above Walmart. If you want to learn about what makes our elderberry syrup different and the comparisons and stuff like that, I think we do a very good job kind of doing that on our website. Okay. And they can also purchase right there. And it's just heartlandelderberryfarms.com is the website. But there's a FAQ section, and there's just like a bunch of diagrams really helping customers understand there are differences in products. So I would probably recommend going there.
Perfect. And your social medias, what are your social medias? Because I'm sure you have them.
Yeah, we do have an Instagram account, Heartland Elderberry Farms, and then we have a Facebook as well that people can and we do post on both of them. We are not the social media gurus, I will tell you that. So it's like, that is one thing that we would like to do, is to kind of deepen that. I think there are so many people interested in just kind of following along with a growing season and looking at the farm and looking at the operation. Sometimes we just get so busy with what we're doing, stopping to take photos and post things. It kind of escapes us.
Oh my gosh, all the time. People are like, you should have more on that. I'm like, no. When am I supposed to do this?
it can almost be a full-time job,
100%.
100%.
100%. I just, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us. I really, really, really
Yeah.
appreciate it. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with a friend who loves natural wellness or just farming in general. But until next time, keep blooming where you're planted.